We have with us today Zohra Zoberi, an author currently living in Mississauga and a Canadian of Indo-Pakistani origin. Zohra, thank you so much for your time. Let's begin by talking about. Thank you so much. Let's begin by talking a bit about your latest book, which is called The Other Eye. What is it about?
The Other Eye, it's about a lot of things. It's about a spiritual quest to find, we all have two sides to us. And in my case, like it has multiple meanings. The title has a multiple meaning because my grandmother gave me the name Zora, which means planet Venus, morning light. And my dad gave me the nickname Shada, which is a Persian name for cheerful. And I believe that we all have two sides. One is the survival instinct that goes forward. Sometimes, your job, this, that, and the other. And the other one is for your inner peace and happiness. So at some point in life, I felt that, these two have to integrate. So towards the end, it's a spiritual search to have a good blend of both. Because a lot of us sometimes lose track of one side or the other. And but it has multiple meanings because some people have interpreted so many. It's a layered meaning, the other eye. So one of the last chapters is the integrated eye. And then you find out what I meant exactly. You have to read the book.
Prior to the interview, you told me that your book contains some bizarre stories. What can you tell us about them?
Bizarre stories are like we attended, my husband and I attended in Africa a bat hunting party. And, to witness the bats being sucked onto a tree and then, 15 people are shooting and then all of a sudden they disperse and 12 of them are killed. And he was a professor, very eccentric professor from Reading University, who wore a Mexican hat and rode a tricycle to his work for lectures. But I realized later in life, and 50 years later, I realized that he is one of the icons in science. And so anyway, that party, guess what? The Prime Minister of Sierra Leone was coming to dinner following that afternoon, and we were the guests there. And guess what was the main dish? Yes.
Oh my God.
But you know what? Kentucky Fried Chicken has played a very good role in my life because at the end of all these African dishes, there was one KFC. We went to that. Let's have that. But no, other bizarre and interesting is like I met the father of talking drum. When the British were ruling, Nigeria was just released as a free country liberated, I should say, before we arrived there. So we had that kind of a thing that both were under British rule at one time or the other. So Nigerians took to me, and but the other thing is like the father of talking drum during the British rule, if from one village to the other, they could communicate through drum. So I took some 30 Americans once to meet this talking drummer, and they demonstrated exactly how they communicate. It's the most amazing. You can have a whole language. So we even gave them some modern statements from modern, camera and stuff like that. They were able to communicate that. So that was interesting. The other was I got caught in should I go on? I got caught in a military coup in Nigeria at one time. So I didn't know. I arrived. I used to be on the vice chancellor. Our vice chancellor was one of the think tank for the government because we lived through the oil boom. And so for his cocktail parties or dinners, I used to prep myself because I was the youngest. Who is this girl that knows all about, the U.S. policy and so on. So I used to go in the library to catch up Newsweek and Times and all that stuff. So I went to the library and I thought, nobody is on the way. What the heck is happening? It's late. It was a Wednesday. And I said, you know what's happening? So once I get to the parking lot, nobody. It's a 10-story building. They called it Anniversary Cake. It was a luxury university built within months and months. So I suddenly I heard I'm humming a song and moving along to go to the library, and then suddenly I hear, halt. And I look up, and would you believe that on all 10 floors, every few steps, there are soldiers with guns, and all the guns are pointing to me. Like, is it bizarre enough? And so but now I would be very scared. But back then, I burst out laughing. And they said, their expression of surprise was, madam, aren't you scared? I said, I'm not scared. I didn't do anything. I'm here. So then they told me that, don't you know, 22 people had been killed, leaders, political leaders, in cold blood, murdered the night before. And the thing is, the announcement had not reached that there's curfew all over the place, especially in the universities. So one of the chiefs accompanied me in his Jeep. He just touched all these badges and everything to impress me. And so once we entered in my driveway, we used to have domestic staff. I don't like calling them servants. And they called us Madame and Sa. Sir was Sa. So they said, Madame is coming with soldiers. Like, they got so scared. The cook was Pious, and the maid was Charity. So Pious and Charity. This British gave them these names, Pious and Charity welcome me. And I said, don't worry, I'm here. Like, they're escorting me, not arresting me for anything. So that was a few things like that. But I blended, I come from India, Pakistan, all those countries are we may complain about being discriminated, but we do discriminate. And people were saying, oh, you're going to Africa. And I ended up in what's a place that's called Cradle of Mankind, because it was a small town, and they burned and sawed 13,500 acres of land, and with this oil boom, suddenly erected a beautiful university campus, invited all sorts of professors from all over the world. So I was the teenager amongst all these people old enough to be my father or grandfather, for that matter.
Yes, that brings me to my next question. You are known for being adventurous. You've been to many countries. You lived in different countries, including Africa, at the time when there was probably much less freedom for women, right? So, did you ever feel that people judged you for your choices?
Never, never, never. Actually, people always thought that I was too daring, a little too daring,
A
because
little too daring.
at the time, like, I was a teenager, I had never left my parents' home. So while I was excited, I had said yes to this weird proposal that said, you and me, no third life, I'll take you around the world. He was much older than me. He was a PhD professor from London. I used to tell him, you fell in love with me, but I fell in love with your PhD first. So I took that offer, and my grandmothers were, so upset that she's traveling alone. But I was super thrilled that at this age, I'm traveling alone, and then to Africa.
When did it start? When did it start? How old were you?
I was just under 70. I was 16 plus.
My God.
So yeah, it was. But the thing is, the kind of proposal, he also said no third life, and I had 9 cousins around me and 5 siblings, and I thought, I never have to change a diaper. I go travel around the world, and I did do a lot of unusual things. I mean, the thing is, Teresa, I could have been depressed because I was a lonely teenager, brown, who spoke Urdu language, did not. I mean, I learned English afterwards. I knew the basics, but I couldn't speak. So, I could have been depressed. I had two choices. So amongst this, but I was very fortunate because, I say that firsthand smoking is dangerous, but firsthand knowledge is very healthy. So I was amongst all these educated elite from all over the world because of they entice them to come with all sorts of every 9 months, 3 months paid vacation and all that stuff. So I think that I took that path. And my husband, I must give him the credit because he just let me do whatever I wanted to do and everything.
So your husband had an important role in that traveling
Traveling, yeah, oh,
history.
yeah, he had the major role, and it was interesting because the whole life story when you read the book and you see the whole life story, how he led me every step of the way in the beginning,
Mhm.
and I ended up leading him every step of the way towards the end.
Okay.
It's
Your
a fun journey.
your
So
husband is also Indo-Pakistani.
my husband I was born in New Delhi, and
Mm-hmm.
my husband was born in India as well.
Mm-hmm.
But most of us are either like in 1947 there was a big havoc, that, and at that time it was very dangerous. My parents had to leave their lunch and run with a little baby. That's me. So I think I started my adventure from that time, that time. Even when I was in my mom's womb, there was this havoc going on to get rid of the British and become free country. So there was a lot of turmoil, and in the end, it all works out.
Finally, in 1976, you decided to immigrate to Canada and to settle in Canada. Why did you make that decision?
Yeah, well, there were two, three reasons. The major one I would say was for our son's education. He was going to be 6 and start proper schooling. He was in kindergarten. That was really good. University education was good there, but the middle part of it, high school and all that, was not that great, the facilities. So for his education, and also political instability in the country. So there was the Biafra war going on and all that sort of stuff. But the thing is, it was a very tough decision because we were the loved couple of the campus. On the campus, there were 2-year contracts. All these professors from around the world, they would come, and we were stationary for 12, 13 years. So we knew it all, and we would guide people, and we would befriend people, and that's where we accepted. That's another third reason was that we spent such a multicultural life
Mhm.
that we were searching for a country where we would settle, and Canada being the most accepting and most multicultural place.
Mhm.
So there were two, three reasons. There was an educated decision.
It's interesting that you talk about the Canada being so multicultural, but we know that the country has been facing some political changes, and immigration is a hot topic. So my question is, do you feel that this multiculturalism is at risk in the country?
I think human beings are funny creatures. They have so much power for the positive, but somehow, the angel and the devil, this is the daily fight between the angel and the devil in us. So I think for some people, multiculturalism the best. I attended a conference in Ottawa, uh, Universal Peace Federation. They invited me, and there were different people from different. That is multiculturalism good, and how much more to be done? But I I think people will always differentiate. There will always be some people who discriminate, but there are many people. At least I have embraced multiculturalism to its best. In fact, you will find that the way if I want to go back a little bit to mention that I start my book with a second journey poem, and that second journey is my quest. I have come here, why, and what will I do, and how I will adjust, and so on. And then the last one is multiculturalism at its best. Because all the plays that I produced, all the work that I did, stage shows and anything, I just embraced multiculturalism, that our diversity is our plus. But I think if you want to know, I mean, we don't want to talk politics, but briefly I can say that, I think one should be careful. You can't just let immigrants keep coming. There's two points of view, but at the same time, think about the people. You see, my case is opposite. A lot of people come out of desperation. They are running away from persecution or something. We were not running away from anything. We struggled. And if you know what we faced when I came here, like we were the darling couple because my husband had produced a book, a very important book, scientific book, tropical macrofungi. For that, we traveled all over West Africa and so on, different countries. And by the way, I had illustrated that book. I didn't send you that picture of mushrooms. Maybe I did. Um, and I had won 2 gold medals in badminton. So, in all Nigeria championship, we were both like very well liked couple. And this was difficult because 50% of the salary used to go in the bank. So we had a free home and free car allowance, this, that, and the other. So, but when I came here, my biggest surprise was that I had to face role reversal from, and there Africans saw me as white. They called me Oibo, which is like a peeled orange. And they called the white people that, and they called me Oibo, but they said, but you're not like Oibo. They loved me, you're just like black. But over here, I suddenly became brown woman. And when I came, there was discrimination, very much so. They used to say, so are you living in that, Taj Mahal, the white building? Or I don't want to even repeat the word that is a swear word now. But I think we've come a long way. The only thing is I don't like this BIPOC, BIPOC, because why do people we never look at a vase of flower filled with different flowers. We never look at it. This one is like this, and the yellow one is not as beautiful as the rose is more beautiful than the lily, and so on and so forth. We never do that. Why do we do that? But there's always a good cause and a bad cause behind. Some people have bad intentions. Some people do it so that the BIPOC do not suffer discrimination. But I think it segregates them because I think why BIPOC? BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and Black people, like you segregated them. I could be wrong, and I think the original intention was good behind it probably, but it doesn't serve the purpose in my opinion.
You have written other books, but this is a very important one, The Other Eye. Would you say that this is the work of your life?
This is, I tell you, the inspiration behind this book was 20 years ago, a lady came, a professor of English literature and linguistics, Canadian studies. She's a specialist in Canadian literature. She came to study established authors, but then she realized that she was at a meeting where I was reading something, and these so-called bizarre stories and experiences, she just turned around and she said, I think I should also take emerging authors, and these stories you must bring to the world. So she was inspiration, and that's my best endorsement from her. She's a professor from University. They even, sorry?
No, I was just about to ask you if you wrote the stories all at the same time, or you had some stories already written and you just compilated everything.
Yeah, Teresa, I was a diarist from age 13. Even now, there's always a diary on my desk. Even when I'm watching TV, having breakfast, or some idea comes and I write down or something. So yeah, no, I was writing wherever I went. Actually, my husband, had a complex because I was just a high school girl until I went to the university and all. And my husband was PhD and had 60 publications and all. So I was very conscious of that. So everywhere we went, I would just go and sneak in and pick out the brochure from the kiosk, read up and everything, and go ahead of him and say, this Uppsala University was built in 1800 such and such, and so on. And he would say, aha. So he guided me a lot, but at the same time, I think unless you have the desire yourself to learn, by all means, I'm not all that. I mean, we all have to learn anyway. I have to learn a lot more.
I'm sorry, just for me to understand, you and your husband are still together? Your
Oh
husband,
no.
he passed.
Towards the end, I have written because right now I am writing about it, a book.
Mhm.
We got such a shock because I was invited. I wrote a play about cheating in marriage, and for that I was invited in Washington, D.C. To enact in a celebration, our book celebration, to reenact that play with one of the professors. And my husband was freaking out. It was an invitation from the ambassador, and he was freaking out. Don't go there. They were, and it didn't occur to us that it was the start of his dementia, and we didn't trace some of these things. But later on, like in 2010, 2009, he had the weirdest incidents where he crossed through one of my plays I was doing. He crossed the stage. He was filming it. And so people said, what's happening? Even then, it did not occur to us. But it was after things became like one day he lost his way and everything, then we discovered that he had dementia. And as you know, dementia is coming like a tsunami. It is the pandemic level in North America, everywhere in the world. And also we have, gained we've increased the longevity, but not the quality of life. And there will be, if we don't do anything, I mean, a lot is being done in research. They still haven't found the right cure for dementia, but there are preventions. So I'm working on that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Lived experience rather than chat GPT and AI.
So finally, Zora, do you have any message you would like to leave to our Portuguese community?
Portuguese community, first and foremost, I would say I used to call them young and the restless. You guys are beautiful and you have a lovely heart. Even now I have a Portuguese group of women that sit outside in the summertime. I always go and say hello to them and find out what they're up to and all that. Yeah, my message is that, positivity, because after writing the book, I felt that everything was dealt with, and life will bring you surprises, life will bring you challenges, and just take them in stride and know that this too shall end. So I think that embracing positivity, achieving gratitude, and we sleep at night and we are like half dead, and we wake up in the morning, we have oxygen available to breathe. We have all kinds of things for us. Everything is done in our system. Our heart was beating, our brain was working. So why can't we be more, you know? So I think this thing we have to prevent. Everybody should help at least one depressed Canadian, because they say 1 in every 4 Canadians are having mental health issues. So I think they should. And I think by writing, by doing that journaling, you can do journaling for good health too, to preserve your positivity and see so write every day what 5 good things happened to you.
That's a good exercise. Thank you so much, Zora, for your time.